Hey GlamFam, Linwood here, and today I'm going to be talking to you about simple ways that you can ensure that you get a better hairstyle or haircut, whatever the case may be, next time with your stylist. So I'm going to give you some simple pointers and we're just going to dive right in. Now typically whenever you are dealing with errors with your hair, things like that, when it comes down to a stylist, there's usually one of three issues.
Can I talk to them? Hi.
Anything else?
Well, I'm sure it's cute, but I know you love my bun bun.
Oh, you know they love your bun. Okay.
So toodles!
Toodles. See you later. So typically whenever you see mistakes that are dealing with the hair and a stylist, usually you've got one of three things going on. The first of which is usually going to be a communication error. Now, of course, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about each of these three things and then I'll elaborate a bit moving forward. A consultation should be taking place. There are a couple different subjects that you should cover in consultation. We'll get into that. The second of which is going to be stylist skills. Like their skills are not up to par, whatever the case may be. And I feel like that's the one that most people assume is the issue, but it's not the most prevalent issue, to be quite honest. And the third one, last but not least, can deal with client error. So we're going to deal with that as well, and I'm going to give you some simple tips that you can follow to ensure that you're not setting yourself up for failure. So if you'll notice, the first of which I said was communication. Communication is huge in this industry, and when you are asking someone to do your hair, things like that, you want to make sure that you're communicating with them well and that they're responding well. So I'm going to give you some different things to look out for, as well as stuff that you can be doing to ensure that there's a better, more open line of communication with your stylist. When you're dealing with a consultation with your stylist or potential stylist, you always want to make sure that you are bringing photos to show as a reference. You want to make sure that you have examples, that you're talking with your hands when it comes down to things. Because of course, if I'm saying I want my hair to be shoulder length, for one person, they may consider this portion here to be shoulder length. And the next person may consider this here to be shoulder length. There's like a 2-inch difference between those two heights when it comes down to it. Some people, when they say shoulder length, mean shoulder blade length. So it helps if you are kind of giving people an example or reference point to follow when it comes down to lengths, colors, things like that, when it comes down to dealing with your stylist. So I will say that type of stuff is huge. Now, there are a few things that your stylist should be paying attention to and being mindful of, and I want to kind of talk with you some about that as well. Now, certain things that your stylist should be looking at is they should be looking at, number one, your curl pattern. So if you're showing me a photo where the person's hair is straight, things like that, and you have a curl pattern, there's some extra discussion that we need to have there. I should be having a thorough consultation with you to discuss how much time you have in the morning to style this. Do you want your hair to lay a certain way? Are you okay with it being curly or straight? Do you plan to wear it like this all the time? How often do you straighten your hair? These are all questions that I should be asking. I should look at things like texture. If you're showing me something where, let's say someone's curl pattern is similar to yours, but their hair is more coarse or their hair is more fine, I need to be able to adequately set some expectations in place of, okay, we can do this cut. Now your hair may have a few more flyaways naturally because it's more fine, or your hair may not lay quite like this. It may be a little heavier because your hair is more coarse. Things like that are important to discuss, and managing those expectations are super crucial ahead of time. If, let's say for instance, you want to get a short haircut, something like that, and you are thinner around the edges, if you have a short haircut, you can't really always pull that hair to fall over those areas that are not as dense as other areas. So if you're struggling with traction alopecia or baldness, like along the hairline, things like that, and you don't have any hair to cover, getting a short haircut may not work as well for you, or you might want to modify the cut so that way you still get coverage in the areas that you want it. These are conversations that are not always easy to have, but are very important for your stylist to have with you, so that way you can understand what your hair will and won't do and how we can still get you closer to your goal and make sure that you leave satisfied. Not just be like, I'm not a miracle worker, honey. Boop, boop, boop. No, that's not how this works at all. Especially if your hair has already been chemically treated and you have increased porosity as a result of abuse or manipulation, aggressive styling, chemicals, things like that. I need to know what's healthful and healthy for me to still do to this hair. It's really important that your stylist is paying mind to these type of things, so that way they kind of know, like, okay, is this something that we should be doing? Your hair is extremely porous. Will this color even stay, or is it going to fade out in a week? Like, that type of stuff is all impacted by porosity. We need to look at the damage of your hair. Is your hair strong enough to take this? Would cutting it or doing this style remove some of this damage? Would it make your hair healthier, or would it make it worse? Do we need to do a special conditioning treatment ahead of time? Is this something where we should not do it at all yet, and we need to do a series of deep conditioners ahead of time? And I feel like if a stylist is communicating communicating those things to you and we can set you up on a regimented plan, there's a higher chance of success for your style, and there's a higher chance of you being satisfied with the overall outcome, because this stylist put the health of your hair first rather than just giving you what you wanted simply because you asked for it. I've had clients that have gotten upset and walked out on me because I've refused to do something when they wanted it and instead said, okay, we need to get these things in place first. But after they went somewhere else and got it done and it backfired on them and they come back, they are then lifelong clients and they trust you like no other because of the fact that you put that simple goal there first, knowing that this was not going to be good for their hair. So having a stylist with integrity is important. You need to also be able to discuss with your client or with your stylist your budget, because if you're wanting, let's say, platinum blonde and your hair is as dark as mine, you need to understand that, okay, you know what, this is going to be a high maintenance color and it's going to be a lot of work to get you there. It's an expensive process. If you've got $80 and you want platinum blonde hair and you're doing this during tax time, this may not be the best color for you. We may need to go with something that's a bit more in between, give you some highlights instead of a full head of color, something that's easier to maintain, or do an ombre where we're fading from dark down into the color you want. So you ultimately still get the color without the harsh regrowth, without the negative aspects of it, or without the high maintenance costs that can come along with it. If you are a mom with 3-4 kids and you are into fitness and all that, these are all things your stylist needs to know. A consultation is going to allow you to cover these topics while still ensuring that you are getting closer to your goal and communicating exactly what you are doing in your day-to-day life. Your consultation is not a time for you to manipulate the facts for your stylist. You need to be as honest as possible, and your stylist should be as thorough as possible through this process. The more information they know, the better they can do for your hair, or if it's not something that's ideal for your hair, they can let you know that too. If they're not the ideal stylist for you, they can also let you know that in advance and refer you out to someone else. Those are all things that deal with communication. I will tell you, you should be looking for a stylist that asks you a lot of questions. This was literally like skimming the surface of what should go on in a consultation. If those things aren't going on, these are some things that should be cause for alarm or concern. You want your stylist to ask as many questions as possible. If you say, I want bangs, and they just pick up their shears and go to cutting, there's a problem there. You need to get up, get out, let's go. They should be asking so many questions, because when it comes down to it, if you tell me you want bangs and you haven't given me a reference point, like I want my bangs to sit right on the brows, I should be asking those questions. If you say, I want bangs, okay, do you want them to graze the brow? Do you want them to frame the brow? Do you want them to be a long side swept bang? Do you want them to graze the lashes? Do you want them layered? Do you want them chunky? Do you want them thick? How do you want them? Do you want pixie bangs that are super short? Even though it's like, okay, this is something that seems simple, those type of questions can take something that's simple from amazing to looking butchered to a client. So you wanna make sure your stylist is asking you questions, things like that, and that you're finding someone that works for you. If you are looking for a stylist, one of the key things I recommend is find someone with hair that looks like you want your hair to look. So if you see someone with a hairstyle that you've been wanting, or you see someone with a cut that you really like, or healthy hair and that's what you're looking for, natural hair and it's well taken care of and that's what you're looking for, stop them and ask them who does their hair. It's one of the simplest ways to find a good stylist. And people ask me all the time, like they wish they could find good stylists in their area. That is one of the easiest ways to do it. And usually, if you're talking to that person a little bit more, they'll kind of let you know the things they do and don't like, things about the atmosphere. All you have to do is ask. You just got to be willing to get out of your shell and ask the questions of, hey, oh my gosh, your hair is so cute. Who does it? Wow, okay, where are they located at? Thank you so much. What do you think about them? Check out some online reviews. Look at their work online. But let's go ahead and move on into the second issue that I typically see, and that is going to deal with stylist skill. Now, I will say it's kind of difficult to know if a stylist is skilled or not right off the bat. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you a couple of things that I've noticed throughout my 20+ years of doing hair that inexperienced stylists do. These are not end-all be-alls, but I will say a lot of beginners do them and a lot of inexperienced stylists do them. So just tuck that in your belt, do whatever you want to with it. The first thing I will say is if you're going in for a haircut and you're super critical of length, you want your cut to be right, don't go to anyone who's using shears with a plastic handle. It sounds bad, I know, but I need you to keep in mind the entry-level shears that are like $8 have a plastic handle. Someone who is serious about their craft is typically not going to be using that, and if they are using that, usually that's an indication that they are a beginner. If you're super critical of length and things like that, that's not to say that person's a horrible stylist, but that is to say that person is probably not going to be the best at making you comfortable if they're brand new to this. Now, me as a professional, I will say I'm quite a bit more detailed about certain things like that, because I also know that a cheap shear is going to need sharpening more frequently or going to need replacing more frequently, and if it is in any way dull, it's actually causing split ends while you cut. So I need to make sure you're cutting with a quality pair of shears that are sharp. So those things are important to me as a stylist. I'm looking for a full metal shear, and honestly, a pair of professional shears, usually the cheapest a professional shear would be is about 50 bucks. And that's cheap. Like when I tell you, most mid-level quality shears are going to be in the $200 to $350 price range. I know it sounds like a lot, and this is why I said if this person is serious about their craft, usually they're going to have better shears. If they're not serious about it, they're probably also not that skilled with it, and they're going to be using much cheaper tools, hence the plastic handles. So I know that probably sounds bad again, but I want you to put yourself in the mind of like, if you have someone who knows how to sew versus a seamstress. Someone who knows how to sew might be able to make you a dress, but someone who is a seamstress knows how to take stuff in, let stuff out, do stuff custom, be able to build on you and create something that's more flattering to your shape, your body type. They know so much more about their craft, and usually they're not going to be using the plastic handled sewing shears. They're going to be using the ones that are metal and much larger and just more serious. They're more serious about their craft. This looks more professional, and the reason why they may want this is because they do a lot of cutting. They need a shear that's going to perform. A second thing that a stylist typically will do if they're not really skilled with something is they comb the hair a lot. Like the hair's not tangled, it's not needing to be detangled, but they're combing that same section of hair. Like I comb, I've combed it 7 to 10 times, make a cut, comb, another 7 to 10 times. They spend so much time combing and petting your hair. Usually these are stalling tactics, and a lot of stylists don't even realize it. It's a sign of insecurity within your cut or within your style. It's one thing to like finish my look and be kind of placing my curls, things like that, making sure things look right. There's a whole difference between that and petting the hair, messing with the hair, kind of stalling or between like doing your cuts. You should know what you're doing well enough to kind of cover that base without any major issue. I hope that makes sense. Listen for qualifiers when your stylist is talking to you about your hair. So if you're saying things like, oh, okay, well, you know, I really want this here, and let's say you have curly hair and they're saying things like, oh, okay, yeah, I definitely know how to do your hair. My best friend's girlfriend has hair just like yours, or my sister's boyfriend's sister. Like, this is too much. And usually when someone is giving you a qualifier like that, now this one is more from personal experience. Anytime I've heard people give qualifiers like that prior to doing someone's hair, it's usually an indicator that they're not super experienced with that hair type. That they want you to feel like they are, though. So if I'm super experienced, there's a certain aura of confidence I'm going to have where I don't have to give qualifiers. So I want you to put it in mind of other things. Usually the ones that are most braggadocious are not always the best. And I'm just gonna let your imagination do the running with that. So there are certain things that are exceptions to the rule, but I will say, especially if you're looking for a skilled stylist, go to a salon that is only doing appointments, things like that. If you go into a place that is a walk-in only type of place, you're not always gonna get the same stylist, which means you're not always gonna get the same quality or caliber of stylist. And a lot of times those places are cookie cutter salons where they might train you on 4 or 5 haircuts, and that's kind of what they expect you to put out. And it's not to say that those places are bad. They're great to get your start in the industry, but most skilled stylists don't stay places like that because it's so constricting. So typically if you're going somewhere where an appointment is required, usually if you can get me in the same day as an appointment, I'm kind of questioning, like, okay, what's going on? Are you still building clientele? Is your skill level where I need it to be? If I had to wait like a week to 2 weeks, it gives me time to first make sure that this is what I want. And second of all, I know there's a wait for you. So if there's a wait for you, that must mean that you have some degree of skill. People are booking with you regularly. That type of thing matters. Now, the last issue of which is going to be client error, things like that. And this is a big category that I would really suggest kind of paying attention to. So let's say, for instance, if you're getting a haircut and you have a tendency to always tuck your hair behind your ears. Resist that urge when you're getting your haircut, things like that, because if you're tucking hair behind your ears and the stylist doesn't notice it, when your hair comes untucked later, you can have long pieces right here. If you are doing things like trying to talk on the phone while you're getting your hair cut, naturally your head is going to tilt a little bit to the side as you talk, or you're going to be leaning to the side trying to hold like this. There's no way for me to give you an accurate haircut while that's going on. If you know that you have rambunctious children, find some childcare or bring someone with you that can tend to your children while you are getting your hair done. So that way you're not constantly doing these quick jerky movements trying to control your kids while you're getting your hair done, especially a cut, because that type of stuff matters a lot. When you're sitting, make sure your legs are not crossed. Doing so, like here right now I'm sitting normally. Here's with my leg crossed. Notice as soon as I cross my leg, I lean to the side. Now the whole haircut is crooked. If you have armrests on the chair, you want to make sure you're either using both armrests or neither, because if I'm using one, now one of my shoulders is going to sit up higher than the other. If I'm critical of length, then I want to make sure I'm not using the armrest at all. So let's say I said I wanted the hair to sit right here at the shoulders. Well, if I'm using the armrest, now my shoulders are up higher. When I drop down, now that 1/2 inch to 1 inch makes it look like the stylist didn't do their job well. At the same time, listen to your stylist. If they're telling you to tilt your head forward, this is not the time for you to try to look up into the mirror and see what's going on. They need your head tilted forward for a reason. It's to help get that bottom line even. A lot of times when you're getting a very precise cut, tilting the head down allows you to get a more even cut underneath, so your cut looks even when other people are looking at it. If you are trying to talk to your client, you're one of those that feels like you need, or your stylist, and you're one of those that feels like you need to look them in the face when you talk, use the mirror to look them in the face rather than trying to turn around and look them in the face while they're doing your hair. For one thing, that slows the stylist way down, and for another thing, every time that you're moving, you're risking your haircut being uneven because now we're moving the lines of the cut. If you are texting, things like that, and your head is supposed to be up straight, these are things that are important, because when we're layering, everything is about angles and degrees of elevation when we're cutting. There's a lot of math that's going on in the moment, even though it doesn't look like it. So if your head is tilted forward and that stylist does not notice because you gradually did it, whatever the case may be, you may end up with some layers that are longer towards the front that you didn't want there, or some layers that are shorter towards the back that you didn't want that way because your head was tilted that way. If you're wanting a specific color, make sure you have photos of that color. So let's say, for instance, you say, I want Rihanna red. That's great that you want Rihanna red. Bring me a picture. Rihanna has had about 11 shades of red, and sometimes, because most of the time they're wigs, she's had multiple reds in the same day, in the same concert, whatever the case may be. I need a picture so I know exactly what red you're looking for. And that way we can discuss, number one, whether that's attainable. Number two, what's the maintenance? Number three, what's your price range? Number four, is this the red you want? Number five, like, how do you maintain this? All this stuff is going to kind of go into that conversation. So having a Pinterest board, having an album on your phone of hairstyle inspirations, things like that, is greatly helpful. Or even showing the stylist their own work, because then I know you can do it, you've done it before. And just be open to whether or not your hair will do something. If you've noticed that someone else has a style, you brought in a picture and this person's hair looks thicker than yours, don't be afraid to ask, will my hair do this? Or can I get something similar to this? Between you and your stylist, there should be a certain degree of communication that deals with managing that expectation. And a lot of times I find that that communication aspect, when it falls apart, the whole service falls apart. I know this sounded like a lot, but in a skilled stylist, usually they're able to do all of this and still be able to tell, like, okay, is the hair healthy? What's your porosity level? Do you have dry scalp? Is your hair dry? Is it over processed? All that, I can tell that most of the time with a look. And then I just need to know, like, okay, what type of products are you currently using? What's your budget? What type of styling routine do you have? How many kids do you have? Are you in the gym? Do you sweat in your head? These are all questions I need to know. So it's not just a client or a stylist being nosy. These are things that are important to be asked. So I will say, if you take nothing else from this, communication is key. It is so important. If you're one that's super critical of length, do not go into a walk-in only salon. Go somewhere that requires appointments, and usually go off of the recommendation of someone else. Go to someone whose work you've consistently seen that is good. Just keep in mind, social media is your friend these days, and you can really see, like, okay, what type of work are you posting? What type of things am I seeing you do most of the time? What is your skill set? And what is your area of specialty? And that way you're able to ensure that you get a better service. So I know this is a lot of information in one video, but I really hope that it helps you out with understanding why a style or a cut, whatever the case may be, maybe didn't work out as well for you, or why that stylist may not have been the option. If you're a stylist watching this, take notes, make whatever changes are necessary. Don't leave me hate comments because I'm telling you, I've been in this industry for a long time. This is not shade towards anybody. This is me saying, these are issues that I see. Knowing these different things are things that made me a better stylist. It's not stuff that I use to trash anyone else. So this is not me trying to discredit or say like your stylist is trash, you need to leave them. This is me saying, okay, you know what? If we are not at this level and we're watching this video, then let's do what we need to get to this level or surpass this level so that way we can ensure that our clients are taken care of, because the more satisfied a client is, the more people they're gonna recommend. If you like this video, please click the like button. And if you'd like to see more content like this, as well as other hair related content, please hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell notification so you're seeing all of that. If you have not already downloaded my free hair care guide, it's 6 pages long, and it will give you all sorts of information on many of the things that we discussed now, as well as how to care for your hair. Be sure to check that out. It's totally free. You can click it in the link in the description box down below. It'll also sign you up for a healthy hair challenge. Yeah, until next time, you guys, take care, God bless, and stay glam. You know I love you, boo. And I'll see you next time. Bye.